Alright everyone, I know it's probably going to seem real abrupt and unexpected, but this is actually going to be my final time driving the Ford Fiesta ST. I'm actually on the way right now to pick up its replacement, which I had been debating for a while. It's not completely out of nowhere and unexpected, at least on my end. I just hadn't made any videos talking about what I was thinking about picking up. And it'll be a little surprise, unless of course you skip ahead later on in the video. The idea with this car the whole time was it to be training wheels as far as a manual transmission car, with the potential to get a Carrera GT down the road and be more acclimated. Obviously with a Carrera GT, not wanting that to be my first manual transmission car, that's kind of jumping into the deep end right off the bat. And with a lot at stake, this car has served its purpose real well. And all in all, like with the price that I bought this at and how much I'm getting trading it in, it will have cost about the same as just taking a couple lessons at the Porsche Experience Center in a GT3 manual, except I've gotten to own it for 7-8 months and use it as a daily driver, which is a far more valuable learning tool than simply taking a couple hour-and-a-half lessons. So I feel very comfortable with a manual transmission car now. There's obviously going to be some nuances when you jump from one into the other, but other than the fact that I haven't really been able to practice heel toe properly because the pedals in this car are spaced too far apart for my feet, I've gotten all the other basics down, and it's gotten to the point where obviously I'm a little bit, it's unfair comparing this to the other cars in the garage, but this car is very limited in its grip. And I'll notice when I've driven this on roads that I might take at speed X in one of the other cars, obviously within the speed limit. I'll be driving at like half the speed in this car and I'll feel it starting to slip a little bit, the traction light will come on, and it feels weird hitting that limit at like half the speed where I wouldn't even be thinking about it in one of the other cars. And that's due heavily to the fact that it's got really small section tires, it's got a lot more weight higher up, higher center of gravity, and it doesn't have much to do with the power or anything, just more the balance of the car as a whole. But that said, bang for your buck, this car has been phenomenal. If you've got $15,000 and you want to go get a car that's going to be fun and sound pretty good at that, granted, this had an aftermarket exhaust that the previous owner put into it, but I feel like that's pretty hard to beat for $15,000, which is what I got the car for. You've served me well, buddy, but it's time to upgrade to basically the highest caliber car that I'm willing to park on the street is the idea with what I'll be going into. So I've kind of gone as far as I'm willing to go, while keeping it a manual transmission, but the benefit is it's a car that's of the caliber that I'm going to be willing to track it, which means I will have a manual transmission car that I can take to the track. This car, yes, I could physically drive it to the track and take it on there, but with the lack of grip, it's just going to feel severely handicapped in comparison to the other cars, and I know I'm just not quite going to have as much fun. Whereas the new one, on the other hand, should be a whole lot of fun to take to the track, even if obviously it's not going to be quite as fast as the others. But it's just kind of another step in learning a manual transmission and getting more used to it. The only downside with this new one is that you can't disable the auto blip feature unless you disable all assists, so I have to turn off ESC, TC, I guess those are the assists. That said, that's really the only drawback that I see, but the pedals are much better spaced in the new car, so I'll be able to actually heel toe if I do decide to turn off all the assists. And furthermore, I went and I actually bought some aftermarket pedals that add a little bit of extra real estate on the throttle to close the gap between the brake and the gas. So all in all, it should be a pretty nice experience. That was my biggest complaint about this car, is I can basically stick my entire foot in between the brake and the gas, which means that it's just, unless I somehow tweak my knee really significantly, it's not really a feasible thing to do here. And again, I've driven a 911 manual, no issues with heel toe, the pedal spacing was great, so I know it's more so the ergonomics of this car and not my being able to press the brake and the gas at the same time. Otherwise though, I mean, it's it's so impressive how this car sounds with the aftermarket exhaust on it. And I mean, if you're on the freeway, you can just rev match. You don't have to heel toe. That's what I have been doing, is I just lift off the brake, blip, come back to the brake, which really, if you're trying to performance drive, not an ideal way to do it, but you know, you got to do what you got to do here. So I don't know how well you can hear that through the cabin on the GoPro, but it sounds nice. In fact, it might sound nicer in this car with the aftermarket exhaust than the new one. I think from the outside the new one sounds better, but there's more insulation. So this one's I'm probably gonna miss the sound of this one, to be completely honest, unless I go aftermarket with the exhaust on the new one. Anyway, that said, I feel like I've rambled on quite a bit. We're graduating to another level. This one I'll probably keep for a long time because it's kind of the highest tier car that I can get that I'm willing to street park, and there's nothing else in its segment that's offered in a manual transmission. So if I'm wanting to keep a manual that I'm willing to park on the street, this is really it, other than future iterations of this particular model, but who knows? So this could be a long-term keeper. Either way, we're going to be getting to the shop shortly, and I'll reveal the mystery car, which might not be a mystery if you watch my live streams on Twitch, but I'll see you in a moment. There's the Fiesta saying goodbye. They've got it set up with a bunch of camera lights on it and stuff. Oh, it looks so good. I love the color. Before I even took delivery of the car, I took it to a shop to get it all wrapped in Expel so it's all safe for the track, and I also swapped out the tires from the factory for some Cup 2s. So as soon as we get it to break in, we're all good. All right, let me show it to you. All right, there it is. The first BMW with someone who will use its turn signals. Great stuff. It's an M2 Long Beach Blue, manual transmission, of course. God, the color is so pretty. This is one of my favorite colors that I've actually seen out on the road. Happy that I could find one that's manual with that same color on it, and so it all worked out. There aren't like too many options to choose from. We got the stick shift. The seats are really nice. They're comfortable, keep you held in pretty well. I think the bucket seats kind of come standard. I believe it's the only option. The wrap turned out really well. Shout out to Detail Union for doing a good job on it, and also getting the tires swapped out to the Cup 2s. It's probably slightly different compound than the GT and the GT3 RS, but should be pretty sticky. Kind of the best you can go on track for this car. Look at that grille, sized as it should be. For those of you who've seen the new 4 Series, you can't see my expression, but not too sure about it. Looks good under all these lights. This is the best it's ever gonna look. And then I'll get it out on the road, street park it, be all dirty. At least we get to remember it here at its peak. Dude, I love the black accents on everything. Black on the tailpipes, on the badging, on the front grille as well. Blue contrast stitching on the inside. It's the competition model. That's the only M2 that you can get now because of emissions regulations. They had to basically discontinue the old M2, and now it's got the M3 engine, M4 engine in it, detuned. I don't know if you can tune it to just unlock that power that they took back, but I kind of want to open up the engine bay. It's got this really cool carbon support beam that kind of reminds me of like a Carrera GT engine bay. Such a cool little element there. Looks real nice. Just thought I'd show that to you. PPF. Sometimes you get it and there's like a little seam. It's like pre-cut, and so it doesn't go all the way over the edge of each body panel, but it's going all the way over the edge. It looks really nice. You can't tell, which is the whole idea of the thing. But yeah, it gives you good peace of mind if you're going to take the car to the track. I would never recommend taking your car on a track if you care about it and you don't have, at the very least, front paint protection on it. The whole car is even better if you can. Anyway, I guess there's not too much else to show here. You might as well get everything signed, all good to go, taken care of, and take it out on the road. We're ready to go here. Got the all clear, all the paperwork is signed, and I'll get to do a first drive. We'll jump in with the GoPros, but I'm not going to be able to give it too much gas because we'll abide by the break-in for the first 500 miles. Looks beautiful out in the sun though. I love this paint color, and yeah, thank you, much appreciated. You know what one of the brilliant things about this is? Has a backup camera. I haven't had a backup camera in a daily driver car of mine. Why do I have the mask on? We're alone in our own car. You couldn't see that I was smiling in there because I had the mask on, but the PPF did turn out really well. I'm happy with it.
I mean, air bubbles, I suppose, could show up in the next week or so, but I'm not really expecting them to. And yeah, looks, dude, this color is so good. Look at the wang, big wang gang. Also, he has a crossbar across his license plate. I'm not sure how okay that is, but hey, you know, whatever works. Backup cameras are nice. I don't care if you consider it like too easy. When I'm reversing, I want to see where I'm going clearly. I don't want to hit the car. I haven't done that ever, but backup cameras are great. We've got, it's weird. It's not like actual carbon fiber. It's almost like this weave of, I mean, plastic weave is kind of what carbon fiber is, but it's weird. It almost feels like a straw basket or something like that on what's supposed to look like carbon fiber finish. I don't mind it. It's just, it was weird the first time that I got in and saw it. We got our manual. That was the key component. I mean, that's about all there is to it, to the interior. I don't have the super wide angle lens, so it's kind of hard to get a full view of everything, but it's just nice having the blue contrast stitching, which sort of matches the exterior color, which I always like to have my interior contrast stitching matching the exterior. That's the ideal. Guess we should go for a drive. I mean, I have to drive back home right now, obviously. We're about 45 minutes away. So we'll just record the GoPros as we're going, give some feedback, and that'll be that. Come along for the ride, and then we'll take it on a nice canyon drive another time, eventually take it out to the track. So there's a lot of opportunity with this thing, and I'm excited to see where we go with it. And before we go,
I already had a bit of a mixed experience when it comes to the electronics on this car. I feel like I'm becoming more of a grandpa in the sense that I'm like, do we need to have super fancy high-end electronics for every component of our lives when we're in the car, especially a manual transmission? Because I connected my phone back at the dealer last weekend, and then I was picking it up here at the paint protection place. That's where I just got it now, because I figured I'd get it wrapped before I actually went and drove it. And so I had my phone connected already. I went to start playing some music. It wasn't really starting the music. I'm like, what's going on? I had to initiate like Apple CarPlay or something. And then I wanted to navigate to where I'm headed right now, and it wouldn't display the navigation on my phone. It would only display like the step-by-step, and I had to figure out how to bring up the navigation to display on the entertainment screen in the car itself, which is weird. I'd rather just have it on my phone, but maybe I'll get used to that. And then, because I swapped the tires out, it brought up this low tire pressure warning notification that was like, you must not drive over such and such miles an hour, and please reset your TPMS. I'm like, all right, okay, that's fine. And then I tried to back out of it, and it starts calling BMW Roadside Assistance on me. And I'm like, excuse me, what? I didn't want to do this. Can we not call Roadside Assistance right now? And so I don't know how to back out of the call. And so I'm just like sitting on hold while the automated thing is like, you have this long of a wait until the next representative is available. And then finally someone answers, and I'm like, hi, I'm really sorry. I don't want to waste your time. Didn't mean to call you. And they're like, are you okay, sir? Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm fine. It accidentally called after bringing up a warning. We're good. It's no worries whatsoever. Well, I'm really glad that we get to hit traffic just as I start the recording. That's always what you hope to be encountering in a manual transmission car. As I was coming to a bit of a stop there, I was able to downshift through the gears. I didn't have to hit the gas once. So that's the auto blip feature. If you're not familiar with a manual transmission car, cue everyone from Europe in the comments like, Americans not familiar with manual transmission? Of course you'd have to explain. But for those of you not familiar with a manual transmission car, you have to match the revs of the engine to what the speed of the transmission should be for the wheels at that point in time as you're upshifting or downshifting. But when you're downshifting, it has to go higher, so you need to blip the throttle in order to match the revs. In this car, unless you turn off all of the assists, so ESC, traction control, everything, it auto blips for you when you're downshifting. So I was able to go from 6th to 5th to 4th to 3rd to 2nd there. I don't downshift into 1st, and it just did all the blipping there. So watch. If I go right now, I'm in 4th gear. If I clutch in, 3rd, clutch off, no blip, nothing whatsoever. It just instantly matches the speed. It's, you know, it feels cheaty. So the first time I ever used this was on a 911 manual at the Porsche Experience Center, and you can toggle that in the Porsche depending upon what drive mode you're in. And the guy I was with in the car, he's like, we are under no circumstances turning this on until you get a little taste of it at the very end and just see what it's like. But he's like, this is cheating and I'm not allowing you to do it. So I got to try it at the end, and it was really bizarre after doing actual heel toe for a while there. It's almost like it's an automated manual transmission to an extent. And I on track would definitely benefit from it, because I'm sure me focusing on doing heel toe as I'm learning would cost me a lot of time, and so to just be able to hard brake, not have to worry about blipping as I'm rowing down the gears, like that's going to help me a lot while I'm tracking it. But eventually it would be nice to learn how to do it the right way, because look, if I ever get a Carrera GT, it's not going to have that tech, and so I'm not going to be able to rely on it. I'm going to need to actually heel toe. And so to come from, I think this is another good intermediate transition in between like the Fiesta and Carrera GTs, that now we have this, so it's just going to auto blip me into third right there. I don't really currently feel like turning off all the assists. You have to hold down the traction control button for like 10 seconds. They're like, you better mean this when you're turning everything off. And then though, I would have to manually blip it. But the nice thing is the pedals in this car are actually well spaced, and that's even before I've got my aftermarket pedals installed. So actually learning to heel toe when I elect to turn off the nannies should be not nearly as impossible as it was for me in the Fiesta. Back into a bit more traffic, super duper fun. So we're not going to get a great opportunity here to actually explore the vehicle's dynamics, but you know, at least we'll get a feel for what the suspension sort of feels like in a straight line, going over some bumps, passing people who are pulled over by the police. Another thing, though, that I will have to get used to in this car is it's definitely got a lighter weight flywheel. It's not a lightweight flywheel like you'd find in like a 911 GT3 or higher, but the revs will drop faster from gear to gear than they would in the Fiesta. In the Fiesta, it just felt like I was waiting for next month every time that I had to go from first to second. It was like, all right, come on revs, let's drop on down. All right, cool, come on, let's go. And then finally I'd be able to release the clutch and go into second without it just bucking the car back. So in this, I can fortunately, as I'm accelerating, get back on throttle and release clutch a lot sooner than I would in the Fiesta, which is what you want to be able to do in order to accelerate quickly. And so I appreciate that about it. I'm sure you can get a tune on this that even further will reduce the time that you have to wait, because I know there are some emissions regulations and stuff nowadays, and that's part of the reason why it takes a while for the revs to drop, is it's actually trying to eject like unburned fuel from the combustion chamber. That's what I've heard, and it helps reduce bad emissions or something. And so when you have them kind of stay up for a little longer, it kind of gets that extra bit out, and then it'll start dropping the revs after that. But I'm sure I could fix that even more so. Like a Carrera GT, if you ever watch a video of someone driving it, even good drivers sometimes have a hard time shifting fast enough up a gear to where the revs won't have already dropped too far down. It's like they'll shift into the next gear, and as they lift off the clutch, it actually has to bring the revs back up because it's dropped so much, because that car doesn't have those emissions regulations, and it also has an extremely lightweight flywheel and like the smallest clutch of any car ever. So it's got all those things to consider. And this is definitely a better step. So even though I would have been, I think, comfortable going from a Ford Fiesta ST to a Carrera GT, if and when that happens, this will be even lesser of a leap, other than the auto blip, which is, I guess, more of that helps me more than what the Fiesta had. The Fiesta had no auto blip, so I had to just hit the gas after taking my foot off the brake. But all in all, I mean, this is a much quicker car. It's more responsive. It allows me to shift quicker, obviously in the down direction, because it'll do it for me, basically. But I can't wait to get it out on some actual canyons. I think it'll be much more fun, and the speed at which I'll be able to carry in this car with the wider tires, stickier tires, better suspension setup is just, I mean, it's going to be night and day in comparison to the Ford Fiesta. That said, though, the Fiesta, for the price, was a really, really fun, good car. So I really have nothing but good things to say about it. And As for now, with the electronics in this car, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna have to learn that more so than it was difficult for me to learn a manual transmission car. Here, see, watch, auto blip again. So I'm gonna just come off gas, clutch in, shift, and back on gas. It's so weird. It's so weird. I mean, it's so smooth. It does the shift so much smoother than you would ever be able to do it yourself heel towing. It does it perfect every time. But regardless, it does feel a little bit cheaty. Anyway, I think we'll wind down the video there. Looking forward to bringing you more stuff with this car. And like if you like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Stay tuned for more videos. And hit the bell even if you are subscribed. And again, face masks, if you're interested, qcathletics.com. What I was wearing in this video here. More auto blip. It almost doesn't even feel like it's shifting gears. Because it's so smooth. It's so weird. It's so tempting to just use it permanently, but I need to get used to doing it for real. What would be safest is if I just do the tune to, or ECU flash or whatever it is, in order to just make it so that I can toggle it manually without having to turn off all the assists. That would be the ideal situation. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for stuff in the future with this car. And that will be it. Fun times. I'll see you guys later.